We are extremely excited to still be playing. The respect we have for Duke is immense. The way that they win year after year, what Coach K's done is incredible. But we're looking forward to the challenge of playing an incredible program and giving ourselves an opportunity to play to be in a Final Four.
Ron Krejcik from the San Francisco Chronicle. Eric, how much have you interacted with Coach K over the years? And as sort of a corollary, you said earlier in the week how, coaching against Phil Jackson and I'm blanking on the other coach.
Pat Riley.
Pat Riley, thank you. That no one would intimidate you in college. And I'm not suggesting you'd be intimidated tomorrow, but what's it going to be like, given the circumstances and the stakes, to coach against him?
Yeah, I would say that as far as relationship, I was, I joined him on his radio broadcast like a year ago, so I don't really have any personal connection other than the fact that one of my best friends, Tom Thibodeau, worked with him with Team USA, and Tom speaks so highly of Coach K. And then, just to piggyback on, what our players said, I mean, we're only concerned with, how do we play up to our potential, maybe play beyond our potential, bring our A game, and then try to focus on game schemes that can help us offensively and help us defensively. I don't think I've ever talked to a basketball team about, another coach, just because, our guys, we have a very limited amount of time, and we just have to focus on, who they might be guarding and what are their themes on both sides of the ball.
Matt?
I've actually just got a quick lighthearted question before the real one. I got to know the story, what makes you wake up and say, I got to go to Twitter headquarters this morning?
It's a really good question, Matt. Rachel's here, so you'd have to, I just kind of do what I'm told on a daily basis. So Rachel's a social media expert. I didn't want to go into an extra film session, or the players. I didn't want to wake them up that early, Matt. I knew we were going to the Giants stadium, to go see the ballpark, and I had already finished my workout, and so Riley and Rachel asked if I wanted to go to Twitter. They thought it'd be a good.
You just squeezed it in. Okay, cool. My question for you, more seriously, is you've defeated Vermont, New Mexico State, and Gonzaga. Duke has obviously not faced, K hasn't faced the program since '94 in the title game. What are the benefits to you and your staff over the fact that Krzyzewski just isn't familiar with your style, and has that actually benefited you at all in any of these previous 3 wins in the tournament to get you to the stage? Just the unfamiliarity of teams, not knowing your guys, not having schemed against them. Is there something about the way that you actually coach and prep that gives you an advantage versus other teams in those spots?
I don't really think so, Matt. I think, like in this particular game, when we aren't playing, for instance, I'm watching, quite frankly, I'm watching SEC games, and if the SEC isn't on, then I'm watching the Pac-12 just because of where I grew up. Other than that, I don't really watch much ACC basketball at all. I don't really watch much Big 12. I'm either watching, like I said, SEC, Pac-12, or NBA games. And so, do I know more about Duke than their staff knows about us? Probably not. Yesterday was, that was the first time I've seen them play live. That's when we started film last night. That's the first time I've watched them on film ever. So I don't think so, but I do think maybe our style of play for Gonzaga is a little bit different based on their last 20 games in conference play. And I only say that because, and I said it last night, I played in that conference, and I have a lot of friends in that conference. I have a lot of players that we recruited when I was at Nevada that are currently in that conference. Yeah, we're a different team than what they've seen, other than in their game against Alabama and some of the non-conference games, maybe when they played Duke. So I think that maybe, and certainly anytime you play a mid-major like a New Mexico State, I think that when you play a Power 5, it can just be a little bit different because of the size. And then certainly with Vermont, in league play, they had not seen anything that could resemble, us or any team in our league, really.
Question over to the left.
Coach Steve Sullivan with KATV. Just talk about the challenge back-to-back games when you face Gonzaga with their size and weapons, and now Duke, different type of size and their weapons. I know you go through the SEC, but that turnaround in just a couple of days.
Yeah, our road, we knew when the brackets came out that our road was not going to be easy at all. It would be overly challenging. And, right now, it's not a lot of prep time. Last night when I got back and we had dinner, we talked about Duke. We went through some themes on both sides of the ball. We went through personnel. We did it again this morning. Obviously, we just had a light practice. We went through it. We'll do it before dinner tonight. We'll do it after dinner. And then tomorrow we'll probably have, 2 film sessions. And we are going to come and shoot. Our shoot-around time tomorrow is at 8:55, which is early, extremely early. But I asked guys, I put it to vote. And they didn't flinch, man. They want to come shoot. They want to go through shoot-around. Same drills. They want to be put into station work. I don't want to say I was, blown away, but I was, I've been around teams that would say they want to sleep in. We haven't missed a shoot-around day at all this year. And might be the first time ever that we've had a shoot-around on every single game day.
Question on the right.
Hey, Coach. Ty Richardson, ESPN Arkansas. You told us earlier this season one of the reasons you changed your lineup is because that's what you felt like your dad would do. And I know your dad's no longer with us, but what do you think your dad would be telling you heading this game tomorrow night?
Same thing that I told the team a couple days ago, fear no one, but have great respect. My dad was just, he was wired different as far as being a competitor. So I don't think I'm quite as competitive, but I'm close. But yeah, the change in the starting lineup was something that I thought he would do. The way that we go about our daily business, I always think about, how he would do stuff.
Bob on the left.
Eric, I had kind of a two-part. That Buckeye that your mom gave you, did you have it in your pocket, or what'd you do with it during the game?
Yeah, I would love to tell you that I kept it in my back pocket. That's what I told her I was going to do, but it sat in the coach's locker room.
Okay, well, so you going to leave it in the coach's locker room or put it in your pocket tomorrow? What's the deal?
No, I'm going to leave it back in the coach's. I'll bring it to the arena.
Yeah.
I think that brings good luck if I bring it in here and then just kind of leave it on the back table.
And then Audis has had a lot of good games against Duke. He scored 27 and 22. I'm sure you're aware of that. What do you think about that? And do you think that might give him a little extra boost of confidence?
I don't think it'll hurt his confidence, but if you like baseball, a baseball hitter can get hot against a certain pitcher, and then you can play him 3 weeks later, and the guy has 4 strikeouts. So or the opposite, you could struggle against somebody and then have a big game. So I'm not a big believer in things carrying over, because I think each game's got its own identity, its own theme. But if you've had 2 really good games or 2 career nights, it certainly cannot hurt your confidence. It can only help your confidence as an individual player.
We'll go to the middle with a question.
Hey, Coach. Sasha Ritchie with The Chronicle. You guys are obviously a really experienced team, contrasted with Duke that starts a lot of freshmen and sophomores. How does that look to factor into tomorrow's matchup?
Yeah, I don't think that that it factors too much into it, because last year in the NCAA tournament we started 3 freshmen in Devontae Davis, Jalen Williams, and Moses Moody. Moses was our leading scorer as a freshman. I don't know how many shots he took against Baylor, 17 or something. So, when you have freshmen that are that talented, they're wired different. So I don't look at any of their freshmen in their top sixth rotation, or sophomores. I don't look at them as being inexperienced. I mean, they've played a whole season, and that's why I think you can see freshmen in NCAA tournaments play really well, because they've been challenged every night in their conference, which is one of the best basketball conferences in the country. So, and then when you got a guy that's going to be a lottery pick, I mean, his mentality is just it's probably better than most fifth-year seniors, to be honest.
Billy on the right.
Billy Witz with the New York Times. Eric, I'm not sure. Did you recruit Jalen, or was he sort of already in the fold?
No, I recruited him.
Okay.
It took a long time, but yeah, I recruited him.
Did you notice his ability to take charges, and if, because that's probably like a subtle thing that maybe if you only see him a handful of times, you don't necessarily pick up. So it sounds like you did. Can you just talk a little bit about what you saw in that?
So really, really interesting that a player that I did not recruit, that Coach Anderson had recruited, was Isaiah Joe from the same high school as Jalen. Isaiah Joe was the best take-a-charge player I'd ever been around. And then when we were evaluating Jalen Williams, we were able to see not just the charge taking, but going vertical, using his chest, using his body to protect the rim, as well as being able to block shots. And I thought he was, from a high school perspective, the best off-ball big that I had seen that entire summer in the evaluation process. He's really improved other parts of his game, but that particular part of basketball defensive IQ, he was college ready already.
And just to follow up on that, last night was kind of the flip side of that. I mean, it's a high risk, high reward kind of thing. He got helped get Holmgren in foul trouble, but then he picked up a couple late. Is that something that you've discussed with him, I guess, over the last couple of years, of just kind of like the nuances of that?
Yeah, I mean, we talked to him about, going vertical at times as opposed to just standing in there and taking a charge. But having said that, I mean, I want to give guys freedom on what they feel comfortable doing. And he hasn't fouled out of many games at all. He really hasn't been in foul trouble to consider who he has to guard in our league, and then like who he had to guard last night for Gonzaga. He's pretty good about not getting himself in foul trouble, so we'll kind of continue up to him. I mean, we do tell him which players are susceptible to charges, which guys to stand in front of because maybe they're a little bit more out of control, which players do not try to take a charge on this guy because you're not drawing a charge, because he knows how to jump stop or he knows how to contort his body in such a way that the foul is going to be put on you. So we do have some do's and don'ts on who to and who not to.
Question in the back left.
Hey, Eric. Rocco Miller with bracketshere.org. First of all, I just want to say it's been awesome to have you and your program back in the Bay Area. It's been a ton of fun, so congratulations. And I'm just reflecting on the last couple off seasons, basically since you've been there with roster construction, in terms of, I don't care if it's a JUCO kid, a high school kid, a transfer portal kid, we won't name names, but Arkansas is usually like in the top 5 on a ton of recruits. You've been beyond aggressive. And now look at you, 2 straight Elite Eights. Does that philosophy start to change now because you're so established with 2 straight Elite Eights, or are you going to stay just as aggressive?
No, we'll always be aggressive. I mean, from the very first meeting that I had with our staff, I mean, we equate, we use the terminology just basically what I learned from the NBA. We'll talk about a player being, hey, this guy's got the potential to be a lottery pick. This player's like a late first-round pick. This is like a late second-round pick. This player's talent level is like a free agent that you pick up later down the road, or this guy's a summer league type candidate. So we have all these different phrases that we use. We are overly aggressive making phone calls in the transfer market. Quite frankly, we don't want everybody to know who we're recruiting. So we evaluate the guys that we really want. I'm calling. And sometimes we're throwing stuff out there just so somebody else, a competitor, gets excited about recruiting a guy that we think can't play for us, to be honest. And I mean, if you look at the numbers and you know, we've called 42 transfer. We're not recruiting 42 because I'm the one. But we don't want everybody to know what our evaluation is. And if we're only talking to 4 players, then everybody would go after those guys because we've had really good success evaluating guys. We have not missed on many transfers. But we'll always be aggressive. That's how the world is right now in college basketball. It's in high school. You know, when I grew up, you went to one high school. You didn't like the playing time. You didn't like your role. Your dad took, your mom took. You're staying there, and you're fighting through it. Well, now guys are going to 4 or 5 high schools. They're going to 3 different states. AAU. You didn't like your AAU program. You stuck with that AAU program because that was the neighborhood AAU program. Now guys are playing for 7 different AAU programs in 9 different states, and so that's the nature of the world. You either adjust. There's no reason to complain or, you know, I never talk to my guys about, hey, you stay at once. You adjust, you adapt, and if you don't, you're not winning. If you don't use you're not going to win, plain and simple. Now we have 5 incoming freshmen that I think are really, really talented. I think it's an incredible class, but we're still going to recruit transfers. And, you know, that's just kind of how you roll.
Question on the right.
Hey, Eric. Brendan Marks from The Athletic. Given the success that you guys had last night against Andrew, especially with Audice being able to sort of lock him down, he had, you know, one of his more turnover-prone games. Is that a replicable strategy against Duke, given the number of ball handlers they have, especially Paolo, who can sort of do that from a different position on the floor?
Yeah, I don't think so. Again, just as Bob and I were talking, you know, every game's got a different theme. And from a coaching standpoint, number one, we had a lot of days to prepare. We don't have that. I can't put them through all these different stations and go through all the footwork that we think we're going to see and which way is Timmy going to spin and where you're going to dig on what dribble. I can't do all. We just don't have enough time, and we don't have enough energy based on, you know, we play tomorrow. And Roach is different. You know, he's different than. And I had played against Andrew. So I had game planned against him. I knew what worked, what didn't work. So I felt really comfortable about having a solid game plan because I had seen him with my own eyes live. It wasn't on tape. I'm not that familiar with who we're playing. You know, I mean, again, I didn't start the tape until last night after the game.
Question from Bob.
A couple, if that's okay. Eric, I noticed the first person you hugged in the stands was your mom. What did it mean to you to play such a great game? And that was the first time your mom had seen you coach Arkansas. And just what was that moment like for you?
I mean, really, really special. You know, my mom is she's seen more basketball than I have. You know, I mean, she went through it with my dad. It's been you know, not easy to. You know, to not have your mom come and visit, not just the basketball part, but it's hard travel. There's no direct flights from San Diego to Fayetteville, and so it really did mean a ton. I mean, not just the game last night, but also, you know, she's, you know, with her granddaughter and gets to see Michael and Matthew and you know. Yesterday they went to dinner without me, but they all went to dinner, and so I think there's a lot of special things. But I wanted her to know, like I didn't want to, you know, go to one of my sons or my wife or my daughter. I wanted to go directly to her, because I like the last 45 seconds. I kind of looked over there and like to see the emotion of her excitement was pretty cool. I was focused on the game too, but I did glance over there a couple times.
And did you say you went on Mike Krzyzewski's radio show, or what were the circumstances around that, and what was that like?
I don't know, Bob. Just some producer called and asked if I'd go on with Coach K on his radio show, and I said, Coach K, yeah, please, I'd love to. That'd be awesome. And so we just chopped it up on the radio.
You said yesterday it's not a podcast; it's a radio.
What's that?
He said it's not a podcast.
It is a podcast?
No, it's not a podcast.
Yeah, I use the right terminology, right? Radio show. I'm not like these other guys that call it the wrong thing.
Ron on the right.
Eric, I was hoping to follow up on your earlier comment about your dad and how you're almost as competitive as he was. How similar are you in sort of demeanor and coaching style? And when you were growing up, was there ever any doubt that you would become a coach?
So I think, first of all, he was my best friend. He was my idol. When I went away to college, I talked to him every single day. There wasn't a day that went by that I didn't pick up the phone and call. Similarities, probably really close, Ron. I did coach a game against him. He was coaching Rochester in the old CBA, and I was coaching Rapid City. And his team was up by about 15 at halftime. And well, let's put it this way. He could hear me through the walls of our locker room to his locker room. My team went out on the floor. There was a knock on the locker room door. It was my dad. Now, this halftime of a game, he's the opposing coach. And he goes, man, I've never heard you act like that before. And so I was like, it kind of caught me off guard. And he goes, then he walked down and he goes, it sounded like me. And we ended up coming back and winning the game. But he wanted to trade one time. And he called and I said, hey, yeah, I'll trade. I think it was Clinton Wheeler. I said, I need a first, second, third round draft pick for him. I've never heard him talk to me like that. He's like, are you crazy? You know, like, the guy's only worth a second rounder, and you're asking, it's your dad, man. Do me a favor. I'll give you a player down the road when you need one. I said, no, Dad, I need first, second, third round draft pick. But a lot of, just a lot of competitive stuff, playing pickup ball with him. Anybody that's ever played pickup ball with my dad, it was, you had to full court press. Nobody was allowed to get a layup. If the game was to 15, it took an hour to get from 14 to 15 if he was losing, because he would basically foul you every play. So a lot of competitive stuff in the household.
Take another question on the right.
Coach, you referenced the Baylor game earlier, and I just remember how emotional it was for Jalen, JD, and some of the other guys that were on this team last year walking off the floor. You even talked about how you watched that game several times over months later. Is that something that they've talked to this current team about, how they felt then, and just kind of where that season ended last year?
Thanks for the motivation tip. We might use that. Hadn't thought of it, Ty, but they haven't. I mean, but it was like in the locker room. I vividly remember, holding Moses. He's the guy that was really crying and sobbing, and it hurt him tremendously. And then it was the same thing with Jalen Tate and Justin. Just because those two guys, we kind of knew that they were. I shouldn't say those two. Even Moses, we knew that those three were. That was probably the last time that they would put on a Razorback uniform. So I do remember those three guys in particular, but certainly Jalen and Devo. I know they were hurting as well. But maybe that's something good we talk about tomorrow at our last pregame meal before we go play that game, and that's the last time that we'll meet going into the game. So that might be a good thing for those guys to get up and give them the floor for a minute.
Any other questions for Coach Musselman? Bob?
Eric, I guess kind of following up on that. I mean, what are your emotions like being on the verge of going to the Final Four again? Because it's like, Mike Krzyzewski said, it's the Mecca. It's what are your feelings?
Kind of like every game, to be honest with you, Bob. I mean, I thought, last night, until, the Adis dunk, I just try to be composed. You're trying to get your team to focus on the task at hand. I didn't really feel last year that our team was that nervous going into the Baylor game or felt like any added pressure. I didn't think we played last night. Actually, I thought we played way more loose last night than we did in the first. I thought the first two games, that first game was miserable, because we're supposed to beat Vermont. I didn't have that feeling in the locker room at all. I thought like all of us felt really comfortable from a competitive nature, and I hope that we had the same kind of loose feeling, tomorrow. Because I don't think you can look beyond, what if. What if you could look the other? What if we lose and then we're done for the year. I don't think you can. I think you just got to focus on the team you're playing, strengths, weaknesses. That's all, that's all we really needed to, think about right now.
It's that time of year as college basketball takes center stage with the tournament finally upon us. If you're looking to wager this year, BetOnline is the #1 spot for all your updated odds and info, along with great contests, including the bracket contest, where you can have a chance to take home the top prize. Head over to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use our promo code BELIEVE to get started. That's BLEAV. BetOnline is your continued source for all your sports wagering needs, including live betting and your favorite Vegas casino games. BetOnline, where the game starts.